Which tag is it in?
Welcome to Baggage Claim, an unofficial Jet Lag the Game companion podcast. We're doing a different kind of episode today in anticipation of Season 15 Tag All-Stars. We'll be discussing game design and some predictions we have in next week's episode, so today we're revisiting the previous 3 seasons of Tag and the returning guests. I'm Kira.
I'm Jaya.
And I'm Casey.
Jaya, what's your favorite variety of Tag?
Oh, easily for me, it's banana tag.
Let's go!
Which I found...
Perfect choice.
It seems that people outside of California, or maybe just outside of the West Coast, don't know banana tag. So this is the one where everybody is it, and you're all trying to tag each other, and if you get tagged, you sit down in place. And if you and somebody else tag each other at the same time, you rock, paper, scissors, and whoever loses sits down in place. But then if the person who tagged you gets tagged, then you go back up.
Oh, it's so fun. I think it's definitely one of the best kinds of tag. I just have such great memories of absolutely running around as a kid.
Such a summer camp game for me. Casey, what about you? What's your favorite type of tag?
My favorite type of tag is a Casey original. My own IP. It's a game of tag I invented as a child called Spider Tag. Let me explain the rules. First of all, this could only be played in my backyard because we had a very specific ledge that was required to jump off of.
Okay.
So the person who is it is the spider, and everyone else is a fly. And the spider is trying to catch the flies and put them in the web on the ledge. But, and by doing that can run around and tag them. However, each category, the spider and the fly, has a special power. The spider has the useless special power to be able to turn into a rock as a disguise, which is not at all helpful because everyone knows that it's still the spider.
It just means that you get to crouch down on the ground sometimes if you want to.
However, the flies are supremely overpowered in that they have the ability to turn into seaweed, which means that they stay in place and they sway and they say, seaweed, and they cannot be tagged when they're seaweed.
So then why would you ever be a fly?
For fun, so that you can run around.
There's an incentive to get tagged.
There's a second version of Spider Tag, which is called Spread the Disease.
That aged so well.
Spread the Disease is much more fun than Spider Tag. So the incentive to be a fly is to get tagged so that you can move into Spread the Disease. In Spread the Disease, I sound like I was an unhinged child, and I was, but this was really fun. So in Spread the Disease, everyone is a fly, and then one fly starts infected with the disease. But when they tag another fly, then they have 2 flies.
Wait,
that
so
are
the flies
infected.
can tag each other?
So it's kind of like cascading tag, and then you all tag each other until everyone has the disease.
So the spider's trying to capture flies, and the flies are trying to give each other a disease.
So the spider goes away after round 1.
Oh, so now it's just Spread the Disease.
So now it's literally just Spread the Disease. You're all flies.
Okay, well, both of those are the top 2 types of tag, in my opinion. I also really liked blob tag, where there's one person who's it, and then typically 1 or 2 runners, and everyone else, you have links of 3 people.
Wait, yes, totally.
You have links of 3 people who are linked together, and if you're running, you can link on to the end of one blob, so you link arms with someone, which then knocks the person on the other side off. You're, like, switching who's running because you can't get tagged if you're in a blob, but the blobs can also move around, and so you can intentionally help someone, or everyone can run away from the person who's trying to get saved.
Whoa,
and
yeah.
I in maybe 6th grade, really wanted every single person in my grade to be friends. I had a very small grade, so it was probably like 35 of us. And so every single day at our like office hours time, every single person in my grade would play gigantic blob tag on the field. And if I do say so myself, I really felt like I spearheaded it, and other grades would look and be like, wow, can we play?
Your whole grade is playing together?
Every single day for a year.
That sounds incredible.
It ruled.
What I will say is, at the time of us recording this, we have not yet listened to the game design for Tag All-Stars. We don't know for sure that Tag All-Stars is not based on blob tag.
Maybe that's how they changed it.
That's, maybe
thrilling.
that's why they brought on guests, so that they could all pivot around.
Yeah, because they need to make blobs.
They need to make blobs.
Well, let's jump into a quick recap of the previous Tag seasons. Tag is a round-robin style game that typically has one runner and 2 chasers. The runner's goal is to make it to their ending location somewhere in Europe, or to end the game with the current runner being in their win zone. So basically, whoever's end location is closer to the final runner at the end of the game wins. The runner uses coins to pay for their transportation and to buy power-ups, like turning off their tracker or doubling the reward for their next challenge. The runner can earn coins by completing challenges from a challenge deck, or they can veto challenges and incur a 30-minute veto period where they aren't allowed to use transportation. Chasers have a tracker on the runner, and they don't have to pay for their travel with coins. When one of the chasers physically tags the runner, the roles shift and a new runner gets to go. Tag 1 was the first round-robin season way back in Season 3. So in that season, the boys started in Charleville, France, with Ben running to Borkum, Germany, Sam running to Zermatt, Switzerland, and Adam running to Jersey, UK. This season had some classic jet lag moments, like Adam taking off the wig in his very first disguise, and all 3 of them really getting to know Lille. The season ends with Ben as the runner in a field in Champagne-Ardenne, making Adam the winner of Tag 1 since that was in his win area. Tag 2 was filmed 1 year later as Season 6, and it had the same board as Tag 1, this time with Ben racing to Zermatt, Sam racing to Jersey, and Adam racing to Borkum. I would say this season was defined by Adam being just 1 ferry ride away from winning on his first run, and Ben going full rat mode to sneak past Sam and Adam multiple times. Sam's run is unfortunately cut short by a signal failure on his train line, and in classic Tag fashion, he did not get a second run.
Classic Sam fashion.
Ben wins this season after stranding himself in Bar-le-Duc. Tag 3 in Season 11 shifted the map to the east, this time having the starting point be in Ferrara, Italy. Adam is running to Bratislava, Slovakia, Sam is running to Lyon, France, and Ben is running to Capri, Italy. This one really is Sam's season. He has an extremely successful first run where he mines for coins while waiting in a stalemate that he doesn't realize is going on, giving him a ton of coins when his second run comes around, which doesn't usually happen in round-robin seasons. Notably also, this is the season where Adam gets help from a rando Slovakian teen who offers to hide him in his house.
I love that Slovakian teen.
And Ben misses the perfect train because he was tying his shoe and then vows to win by rowing a boat. Sam wins this season right at the end of the game at a castle in Hospental, Switzerland, where Adam hid during hide-and-seek Switzerland. There is so much more to say in anticipation of Tag All-Stars, so I'll pass it off to Jaya.
Thanks, Kira. Welcome back to the Strat Chat, Tag Edition. We've seen, as Kira just said, 3 seasons of Tag so far, which is enough to witness some patterns and see the evolution of strategies by both the chasers and the runner. The first thing I want to talk about is how the strategy of a particular runner can change from early to late game in Tag. In general, I think the changes in strategy here are motivated by a runner thinking they may or may not actually reach their end location, excluding if it's the last run of the game. And I feel like if a runner doesn't believe there's a chance they could reach their end location, their best strategy is to grind challenges and get positioned as well as possible for later runs, and potentially also get caught earlier so that their next run is less likely to get snubbed by the game ending. Versus, if a runner thinks it's possible to hit their end location, which is likely going to happen a lot later in the game when they've already accrued more coins, they're more likely to take risks and get paranoid and try to juke the chasers, sometimes unnecessarily. What do you guys think about these strategies? How do you think we've seen it evolve over the course of one game?
I think that this is a strategy where you could really see the evolution from season 1 versus season 3 of the tags, where in the first tag, I think Sam had the strategy of really relying on a second run, knowing that he probably wasn't going to get to his end location in his first run. And we see him actually going in the opposite direction of his end location in order to mine coins via challenges, but then he didn't get a second run. And so that was kind of frustrating, because I think that it was an interesting strategy, but really was leaving a lot up to chance and to the other runs. Whereas I think in the third tag, it's clearer that probably they won't be able to make it to their end location in their first run. And so there is a bit more strategy about where to tag the other runners or how to get as many coins as possible. Although I do think that it's still tough to rely on a second run. And I think it's interesting because I guess statistically, it's probably going to be easiest to get to that end location as the first runner in the first round, because then they're probably
You're starting
going to be
closer.
They're probably starting closer.
Probably. But they could be starting in a worse spot. Like if the second person...
Right.
Or if the person before someone ends at a hub,
right,
you could be able to get into your zone a bit faster.
Right. I think that there is definitely a strategic question here, but I think it's just tough because so much of it is left up to chance.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I also think it depends on, like you were saying, which number runner you are. So I think there is a different strategy for if you're the first person to go versus the second or third person to go, because probably the first runner is going to get a second shot. So the first runner has an incentive to try to get as deep into their zone as possible, to just shift the new starting area, so to say, like the new tagged spot, as deep into their area as possible, but probably they're going to get a second run. So there's also that incentive of getting coins in the early game so they can do a big run in the later game. But so I think we've seen that the first runner tends to be able to go twice, and the third runner tends to only be able to go once. And so I almost feel like that might be a better indicator of the different strategies. Rather than early game versus late game, it's early runner versus late runner, where the early runner might have multiple strategies, or they might just be going for their end location every time, like what we've seen Adam did in Tag 2. He wasn't sure if he would get a second run, and so he really went for it all in one shot, whereas the first runner might be able to get away with a more coin mining strategy.
I think you're right. It does seem like the trend is more about if you're the first, second, or third runner, rather than if it's the early, middle, or late game.
And I guess it does, those two things are very linked. And so It's hard to say, is the strategy changing because we're getting into days 2 and 3, or is the strategy changing because we're getting to runner 2 or 3? And so that's something that I am curious about going into Tag All-Stars, seeing how the lengths of the runs are different, where if we're getting a lot of short runs versus a couple of really long runs, that might parse out the difference between, is the difference in strategy early versus late game or early versus late runner?
Yeah, I think that'll really be determined by how long the first, or maybe the first and the second runs are.
Yes.
The second thing that I kind of want to come back to is breaking down how the strategy has evolved over multiple seasons of Tag, which I find especially interesting because this is the game they're the most familiar with. They've played Tag 3 times, as opposed to, I think the next most played game would be Hide and Seek, which they've done twice. For example of how the strategy changed, I noticed a really intense sense of urgency in Tag 1 when compared to the other two tags from both the runners, particularly Badham, because I think they were really used to working together, whereas Sam has gotten a bit used to doing some of the heavy lifting in the earlier seasons. And it was the first solo season, but also from the Chasers. And this urgency was often paired with a mistake or miscalculation, though, and they just made fewer of those in Tag 2 because they knew the game and the map a lot better. However, I also see some consistency between the players specifically in all the Tag seasons. So for example, like we said earlier, Sam is pretty inclined to grind coins and count on a second run regardless of if he actually gets one, whereas Adam likes being a little tricky. Ben, to me, feels the most likely to just uproot his whole plan because he got a challenge like rap mode, and he just sort of tends to go with the flow. What do you both think about these reads on how and why the strategy has changed across seasons versus what's stayed consistent? What are the biggest changes that you've both noticed?
I really agree with what you've just outlined, and I think specifically the sense of urgency is really interesting in comparing tags 1, 2, and 3. I'm thinking back to how in tag 1, people were using taxis,
yes,
which we really
absolutely.
have not seen in the other seasons. So there really was a sense of urgency of saying, if we can get even 10 miles further, a little bit faster to another train station, we have to be so fast. Whereas I feel like in later seasons, there's more of a sense of the runner will eventually need to slow down to do challenges. We can just follow the exact same path or maybe cut off a little bit of time here and there. But mostly we're seeing that in later seasons, the chasers tend to be taking the exact same route as the runner. I mean, not all the time, but most of the time. And just banking on the fact that the runner will mess up, which I think is really interesting.
And I mean, I think often the runner does get messed up because they get some weird challenge. They have to veto something and miss a train. They don't have enough coins for what they wanted. And so they're not wrong to be assuming that. But I also think that there's something about how the chasers in later games of tag really seem to just trust that they will catch the runner.
Yes.
And, I mean, sometimes that comes back to bite them, with Adam nearly making it to his end location in his first run in Tag 2. But sometimes it does work really well.
No, I completely agree, and I know we're going to talk more about our predictions for the season next week, but I do think that this is where the guests will play a really interesting role. I can definitely see, for example, Michelle bringing a bit more of that urgency back into the game.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, now that Sam, Ben, and Adam are more experienced and are kind of expecting those things, I think having new people in the mix will be really interesting.
Another change that I've noticed that's maybe very small and nitty-gritty is that it feels like all three of them are getting more and more confident with their ability to complete challenges, which, as we've seen specifically in Tag 3, means that they're really leaning on the double challenge reward power-up. So much so that in Tag 3, they needed to change the penalty. In Tags 1 and 2, if you couldn't complete the challenge, you doubled the veto penalty. And then in Tag 3, they needed to triple the veto penalty. And I think that part of that is that we're seeing an increase in confidence in all of these challenges. And so I'm curious to see how that translates into Tag All-Stars when we have more players with different strengths, but also perhaps harder challenges, but they're all quite experienced and have a lot of confidence. But so that's also something that's interesting, is that the chasers seem to have a lot of confidence in their ability to catch the runner. But the runner is also, over these seasons, we're seeing an increase in confidence of being able to make enough coins and get enough resources to get where they need to go.
I really am looking forward to seeing how having different people on their teams and having more teams influences how all of their confidence changes and how much they want to do challenges versus want to play it safe.
Yeah.
But on the same vein of adding people to their teams and adding new guests, Kira, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Jaya. This is the first season with multiple guests, so I thought it would be a good idea to do a little guest retrospective. Tag All-Stars is going to feature the 3 guests who have won previous seasons of Jetlag. So we have Brian, who won Season 1 Connect 4 and also played in Season 4 A Battle for America. And then we have Toby, who won both Season 5 New Zealand and Season 10 Australia. And last we have Michelle, who won Season 8 Arctic Escape. These guests have obviously competed in very different eras of the show and also in very different styles of game, but I still think you can see their clear styles of play. So to me, I think Brian's biggest strength is his level-headedness. I'm thinking back to Connect 4 when he had the idea to get on the same plane to Montana as Ben and Adam, or when he just locks in to complete both the Eat Spicy Food and Bull of Strike challenges in record time, not really breaking a sweat. I think a weakness for Brian is just that we haven't seen him really need to deal with a more complicated, spontaneous game format like tag. So yes, there was some amount of reacting to the other team's moves and stealing states and stuff like that in his seasons, but I'm just not sure how he'll do at responding to moment-by-moment tracker updates, since it seems like most of his strong strategic moves in previous seasons were a little more thought out. Moving on to Toby, I think it's safe to say that her biggest strength is her ability to weigh risk and reward. In both New Zealand and Australia, we saw her make decisions to help her and Sam move quickly, like opting for the quote-unquote safe route in the South Island of New Zealand, and being extremely strategic about exactly how much money they should bet for each challenge in Australia. In terms of her biggest weaknesses, she lists them herself as running uphill and hand-eye coordination. Lastly, Michelle proved herself to be an expert planner in Arctic Escape, with her meticulous spreadsheet of where they could complete every challenge in every possible city where they could possibly end up.
Oh, queen.
I love her.
She's awesome. She's also great at locking in and just doing what needs to be done, whether it's calling the Walmart to see if they sell guns, or absolutely laying her life on the line for a sub 6-minute drunk mile. Similar to Brian, though, we haven't seen her as much in situations that she hasn't had time to prepare for, where in Arctic Escape, even when new developments came up, she was still able to lean on her tremendous amount of prep work. What do you both think of this assessment of each guest's strengths and weaknesses?
I think that's such a good read on all of them. I am just thinking about Michelle, like, her planning was incredible.
Yes.
But she did seem to panic when there were situations that she was like, what the hell do I do about this? And so I'm really interested to see how that balances out with Brian, who he seemed to have the most chill time, but also it was in the early seasons when the guests weren't being prepped quite as much as they were in Toby and Michelle's seasons.
Yes.
And so maybe he's chiller because he's been prepped less, but maybe he's chiller because he is just able to stay level-headed when he doesn't know what the hell is going on and needs to make a quick decision.
Yes.
I think Toby is overpowered and she is going to win everything forever.
Well, I completely agree with all of those assessments. But what I do think is interesting is I think Toby's gameplay is so measured and intentional and really about weighing the pros and cons. However, I do think that we've seen her overestimate her team's ability to accomplish certain challenges. I'm thinking specifically about Australia when there were some of those wagers that she went a little higher on and they weren't able to complete. And because challenges are such a big part of this season, I am wondering about her ability to kind of roll through those challenges quickly, especially knowing the hand-eye coordination tends to be kind of a critical part of a lot of these challenges.
That's so interesting. I think that contrast in Toby's strengths and weaknesses makes me think that she's going to be a really powerful chaser, not as good of a runner.
Well, I think that I could also maybe see her, you know, being like, I'm reminded of when Adam spent so much time on that challenge of flipping a coin to try to get the same, to try to get heads like so 8 times in a row.
That like, poor man.
I'm assuming that Toby, with her mathematical analysis of the situation, would have vetoed that pretty early on. So I think that her balance and measuring the validity of challenges could be really useful in being able to identify, this one's tough, we shouldn't even try it, we should re-strategize, do something else. But then you're not getting the coins either. So I think that balance is interesting. I'm also... On the other side, I think Michelle has really proven herself to throw herself headfirst into doing the challenges. Yeah. But I agree, she definitely was leaning on having that amazing spreadsheet, having thought through every possible situation, and even having an idea of what the challenges would be because they had access to the full set of challenges in the flop. Whereas my understanding is maybe in this, there will be a bit more randomness that she'll have to adapt to. And I think it's really up in the air how Brian will take to this format. I'm really excited because I find him really entertaining, but I don't think we've really seen him in anything close to this, so that will be very interesting as well.
Based on the teaser, it seems like the 3 teams for Tag All-Stars are Ben and Brian together, Sam and Toby together, and then Adam and Michelle together. We've only ever seen how the guests play when they're paired with Sam, so what do you guys think the strengths and weaknesses are going to be for these pairings?
First of all, I think that these are absolutely the correct pairings.
Yes, these are perfect.
The only thing that would improve things is if it was Toby and Michelle, obviously. But I think that these pairings are going to be so interesting because I do think that the guests, as they're kind of separated out, do mesh with the strategies that we've seen from the OG jetlaggers. I'm especially interested in how Adam and Michelle kind of combine their challenge success with more of that maybe panic or anxiety about the path forward. I think that I could see them really either being super powerful or kind of canceling each other out. I think honestly, Jaya, your assessment is really interesting with Sam and Toby. I can see them being a really strong pair as chasers. I'm interested to see how they prove to be as runners, especially with more of those challenge decision points. And Ben and Brian, I think, are kind of going to be a wild card. I can see them being really chaotic together, but I can also see their kind of chill, chaotic vibes kind of working in tandem and allowing for them to be very successful.
I can really see Ben and Brian being, I guess, opposite of Sam and Toby. I think really powerful runners, but not as strong chasers.
Right.
Where they're both very good at reacting to unexpected things being thrown at them, whether it's a challenge that they didn't want to pull or a train getting canceled that means that they need to juke someone, or just needing to go in a different direction. So I think they're going to be able to react to those situations pretty effectively and pretty calmly. But once they get tagged and they need to start chasing, they're both strong enough with logistics that they've been able to win jet lag. But I can't see them being the best chasers.
Well, I, for one, am so excited to see how these pairings actually turn out in the show. But with that, I will pass things over to Casey.
Thanks, Kira. So for our game today, I was inspired by / stealing directly from Ben's layover trivia bonanza, and I have a collection of audio clips from the 3 previous seasons of Tag. It's up to you to identify which season of Tag the clip is from. This is a game I'm calling Tag Yourself.
I love that.
I'm gonna be so bad at this.
I don't know what else to say besides that. I don't know what was in it. I don't think I can really describe it. It just had a kind of an orange goo inside of it.
Okay, so this is a snack zone while Ben is the runner.
Ben's snack zone.
With an orange goo.
My first thought before I realized it was a snack zone was that it was the Haribo Gummy Bears challenge. But that wasn't a snack zone, that was a challenge.
I'm tempted to say I don't think this is Tag 3 because Ben's run in Tag 3 was so short and bad that I don't think he
got a solo snack zone.
I'm tempted to say Tag 2. Is that right?
I think I'm going to say Tag 2 because I don't think they had the snack zone in Tag 1.
Oh,
that started in New Zealand.
You're so right. Yeah, so I'm going to say Tag 2.
You both are wrong. This was Tag 1. It was not a snack zone. It was a challenge when Ben had to eat a sandwich from the worst rated restaurant.
Oh. That was really sneaky, Casey.
The music in the background, I didn't even think about if it was challenge music or snack zone music.
And
I was just like, there's music.
That would have been a really long review. Normally they're like one word.
That's so true.
Wow.
It was full sentences.
See, that was one that I thought would be on the easier side because I love that sandwich moment, and so I know it is ingrained in me that's the first episode of Tag. All right, next up.
Just go stealthy mode. It's all a mindset, Sam. Okay, that was not very stealthy.
Oh no, my shirt!
3.
Okay, obviously this is 3.
It's 3.
When Sam rips
before
his shirt.
Sam said, "Oh no, my shirt," I was like, "This is the shirt scene," and then he didn't say, "Oh no, my shirt," and I was like, "This isn't the shirt scene," and then he said it eventually.
Obviously, because this is when Ben says this is stealthy mode. That's obviously tag 3.
It's the shirt scene.
It's the shirt scene.
That's correct. Okay, next up.
Ben, down, down, down. He'll come via here.
Did he see us?
I don't know.
I have a very specific guess, and it's because I was literally just listening to the layover for this episode when I was driving long distance and got bored, and I was re-listening to old layovers. I think this is tag 2 in apostrophe S Hertogenbosch, when they're waiting for Adam to see if he gets off of a train at their station.
Oh. I was going to say tag 1, and I was wondering whether this was when Adam was in the disguise and was trying to get out. I was trying to think of, like, what's an extended period where Ben and Sam see Adam, but Adam doesn't see them. I don't think it's tag 1, but I am going to guess it.
It could be the tag 2 disguise scene, too. But that one, I think they're yelling at each other more.
Yeah, that's, like, running around.
Okay, I'm going to say tag 2.
I'm saying tag 1.
Neither of you are correct.
What?
Wait, when is it?
It sounds just like in the train station.
This is tag 3. Again, this is one where I was like, oh, this is definitely too easy. This is when Adam is making the secret train transfer, and Sam and Ben think he's going to have to come down the stairs to leave the station.
And then he doesn't have to come down the stairs, and then
they hide
I can
from
see
him
that.
for some reason.
my God.
I can see that in my eyes.
You're so right.
Damn it.
Okay, next up.
This is so hard.
That no, that doesn't work. They're all delayed. None of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense. What the is going on here? What is happening?
This is apostrophe S Hertogenbosch.
I think this is tag 2. Because I think this is where the billboard, like train departure board is in a different language. So I want to say there's like a little pop-up on screen being like, Adam isn't reading this right. Or like he's looking at the bus.
I thought that was like when Sam was looking at a bus departure board.
I thought this was Adam looking at the bus departure board instead of the train departure board, but it doesn't matter because everything is delayed anyway. But I'm going to guess tag 2.
I'm also guessing 2.
So this is tag 2. This
Thank
is
God.
Adam getting absolutely Deutsche Bahn in Münster.
In Moonster.
Yeah, this is just Adam panicking. I just liked him panicking.
Classic.
Okay.
And I love that for us.
And speaking of some more of that energy.
Get off the train. Get off the train. Get off the train. No, shoot. Oh, no.
One of the best moments of all time.
I love this scene.
As we're sitting
Which
here,
tag is
I
it
know,
in?
I don't remember what I was. I was sort of waiting for you to say. Oh,
I was
obviously
waiting for
tag
you to say
1.
something. I'm like, I know the scene. I know it's the
Obviously.
one where they tag, like,
On the train.
they tag him on the train. He needs to get the cards and get off the train. He gets stuck on the train with them
I see
during
it in
their
my
being
head.
frozen period.
I don't remember whether it's tag 1 or 2.
I'm gonna say 1.
I also was gonna say 1.
Because I haven't said tag 1 enough yet.
Well, because no, I don't think it wouldn't be 2 because in 2,
Because Adam
had a really
he was
good
by himself
run.
a lot of the time.
I'm gonna say this is tag 1 because I think he didn't have a very good he didn't have a very good run in tag 1, even though he won.
That's correct. It's tag 1. And
Okay.
you knew exactly the moment, but I could see in both of your eyes, you were like, I could see it, but which season is
But
it?
I don't know which tag it's in.
I thought that by me speaking first, I would establish that I know it, and then I would let Jaya answer, and I would be like, and you're right.
I saw that. I saw both of you.
We both had the
doing
exact
that.
same pointing handguns at each other moment.
Spider-Man meme.
Spider-Man.
So funny. Okay, I have one more, and I have to admit,
Okay.
I got this one because I once watched a compilation of jet lag out of context, and I thought that this was so funny.
The jet lag out of context compilations are so funny.
Okay.
What about, like, if we... what if we what, Adam? If we...
Oh god, this is another one that I can see.
Idea.
I can see it. I know where they are. And I don't know which tag it's in.
Well, tell me. I have literally no idea. My impulse...
Is this when, like, Sam and Adam are, like, outside a train station trying to look at maps for hours? I can, like, see how they're sitting in my mind's eye. I have a
tag
guess. 3.
I think it's tag 2, and I think they're trying to figure out how to, like, I think this is at the end of the game when Ben is, like, in the process of, like, stranding himself
in Barlajuk.
Maybe not. Well, because, maybe that's not true, because in tag 2, they're, like, neck and neck the whole time, and this feels like, no, maybe this is right after Ben dupes them at some point.
Yeah, because Ben jukes them so bad, twice.
I think this is tag 2. Also,
I'm still gonna say tag 3. First thought, best thought.
That's the funniest clip I've ever heard.
Every time I hear it, it makes me laugh.
Kira was correct. That's tag 2.
Okay.
That's Sam and Adam at the end of a game day realizing that their earliest train towards where Ben is heading the next morning is not for hours, and that they're kind of
you're right.
stranded, and he has a huge, massive head start.
I can see the place that they were sitting, but I couldn't remember when it happened.
You both did pretty well. Kira got 1 more point, but honestly, there were some tricky ones in there that ended up being the ones I thought were going to be easier.
That was so hard.
Well, with that, I will pass things back to Kira.
Thanks, Casey. We're going to get into our Rosebud Thorn for tag seasons more broadly. So, Jaya, how about you get us started?
My rose is that I just really love how fast-paced the games of tag can be. They're really dynamic, and that makes it very, very interesting. My thorn, and I'm aware that this is a pretty unpopular opinion, but I would say that the tags are some of my least favorite seasons.
No.
They're just the ones that I rewatched the least, and I love them all so dearly, but they're the ones that I watched last of all the jet lag seasons when I was watching them the first time.
Wow.
But a handful of the reasons for that are probably going to be changing a lot with the 3-team format, which means that my bud is that I'm so excited for the game design episode. I have so many ideas about how it could work with 3 teams in my mind that I think are all totally feasible, and I am just chomping at the bit to see what it actually is. Like, here's some questions and predictions so that I get to say if I called it next week, is how are the 2 teams of chasers going to interact with each other? Can they do towers, like in Capture the Flag? Or does the no tag backs rule or being frozen post-tag rule apply to both teams of chasers? Or, what I think makes a lot of sense, just the one who is just the runners. Does the runner rotate, like in classic round-robin seasons, or does it go to the team of chasers who tagged them? Who can say? We'll find out.
I know, it's so intriguing.
It's going to be so exciting. Casey, how about you?
My rose is that, for me, tag is just the best. I think it's so dynamic, it's so fun, it's led to many, many iconic moments in the past. It's a very fast-paced round-robin format as opposed to hide-and-seek, so I feel like we really get to see a lot of motion and strategy from the runners and the chasers, and the time pressure challenges are so much fun. My thorn is that it seems from the trailer that the tag map will be the same as the original, which means somebody is definitely going to get Deutsche Bond.
Yippee!
My bud is I'm really excited to see what the guests bring to tag. I think tag is definitely the most accessible format, but I'm sure it's much harder to play than it seems to view it. So I'm interested to see how the guests balance out the experience and the strategies of the players.
I completely agree. My rose is I just love the tag seasons. I think it's so exciting to see them play a game that they feel super confident playing. I think it just brings out such a great energy from all the players.
Yeah.
My thorn, I don't really think this is a thorn, but for some reason, I'm a little nervous to see them play tag on the original board again, just because the original players are so familiar with the routes, but the guests have never played there before. I don't think this is really a thorn, but I guess the anticipation is just building. And then my bud is I'm really curious to see whether any team reaches their end location. I feel like in previous seasons, we've seen the runners get closer and closer to flat out winning, but also the chasers are getting better and better at catching the runners. And so I'm just really interested to see what that balance is going to look like. And with that, thank you for rating at Baggage Claim. Let us know your thoughts on socials at baggageclaimpod or over email, which is in the episode description. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a comment or give us a follow. We'll see you next week for Tag All-Star Game Design and Predictions at the Seance Baggage Claim. Ooh. Close your eyes and you'll get a vision of exactly when your bags will come down the conveyor belt. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
And what I will say on the record is that if Jetlag wants to adapt Spider Tag, I will sign away my rights immediately. I think it would be really conducive to a season of Jetlag.